Hi friends, welcome to the Migraine Network YouTube channel, where we talk about practical tips on living life with migraine. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new video. Today, we're talking about Nerivio, what it is, how it works, what I love about it, what I wish I could change about it. Let's dive in. So what is Nerivio? Nerivio is part of the neuromodulation devices for treating and preventing migraine attacks. Neuromodulation is just a fancy word for saying a nerve stimulator. Each nerve stimulator works very differently. Each one targets different nerves. Nerivio works by sending electric pulses to the nerves in your arm, which travels all the way up to your brain, activating the natural pain control system. By doing so, the brain releases chemicals like serotonin, which then reduces the pain signals, which means Nerivio helps by preventing and treating migraine attacks. So how do you get Nerivio? Within the US, it requires a prescription to get the device. Your doctor will send in a prescription and then you will get a phone call anywhere between like 24 to 48 hours on ordering the device. The device cannot be picked up through your local CVS or Walgreens. It comes through a specialty pharmacy that will ship to your house. So once you get that phone call, it's going to ask for your address, for scheduling, and a credit card information to get the device. Each device is $89. You could get 3 devices for $200. Your first device comes at $49, which is meant for like tested out at a more economical price. Once you get the device, let's open one up together to see what it has. The device will come looking like this. You start with getting your little instructions. The device is controlled through an app on the phone. The instructions tell you how to download the app. The app is just called Nerivio and you can find it in the App Store. But once you open up the device, you get a silver bag, which this silver bag has the device in it, which I'll open it up for you to see. This is the device. And then you always keep the device in this silver bag. And then you have the armband. This goes wrapped around your arm once you put the device on to keep the device in place. It comes with an extender in case you need it. And then it comes with this ridiculously small bag that you're supposed to, I think, keep the armband in, but you have to keep the device in this bag and it just doesn't fit. Like you end up needing a bigger bag. I used to use Nerivio way back when it was only approved for acute treatment, which means treating a migraine attack. And they gave you this like really nice cloth big bag that you could get everything to fit in painlessly. Once I started using it for preventative, it came with this little plastic cheap bag that I don't use. I personally have my own little Nerivio bag that I could get everything to stay in here perfectly where I don't need multiple bags. It's all within one spot. So I do recommend getting something like this to store the device in if you continue to use it. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of stuff around the house. How do you use Nerivio? I'm going to walk you through on how to use the device. I'm not going to use my new device. I'm going to use the device I'm currently using just because I still have a couple more uses left on this device. Now, each device only comes with 18 sessions, meaning after 18 sessions, you have to throw the device away and order a new one through the pharmacy. It's a little bit of it's a little irritating that it doesn't have longer uses, but after 18, you need a new device. Now, my tip here, always clean your arm. I just use a simple alcohol wipe. And the reason for this, whether you're using it first thing in the morning or later in the day, you just never know what oils or dirt is on your skin. And since this device needs to stick to your arm, you want your arm to be as clean as possible. So I just use simple alcoholic wipes, the same ones you may use to give yourself a shot, but you want the arm to be completely dry, otherwise this will not stick onto it. So as my arm's drying, I'll explain how the device works. This is the little plastic coat. You always want to keep this in a very safe spot when the device is on your arm, because if this gets any dirt, then it's going to get onto these stickies. And you can see that the device is coming to the end of its life. I will show you in comparison to a new device versus one that is already had 10 uses on it, so it only has 8 uses left. Do you see the difference? Like the new one is very shiny while the other one is about ready to say goodbye. So you want to keep the plastic in a safe spot. Now you're going to stick it onto your arm. You're going to notice, see how it's popping up already? That's because the stickies are just really at the end of its life. they're not that sticky anymore, which is why the band is really helpful, because this device would not stay on your arm if it did not come with the band for sure. You just put it all the way up, you snap it in like that, Velcro it in, you click that on button. Once it's flashing green, it is good to go. So if this was a new device, so say I was using this new device, what I would end up doing is that once I click that on button, I go to the app Nerivio, and if you haven't downloaded it, remember the instructions are on the instruction cards on how to download the app. Once you click this green light and you open up the app, it's automatically going to ask you, do you want a pair device? Always click pair and then you're good to go. So now it's time to start the session. You click start. Each session is 45 minutes long, and remember each device only gets 18 sessions. Every session will start at a 12% intensity. You could increase the intensity to your liking. I highly recommend messing around to try to identify the right intensity. Now, if you're wondering what the arm band feels like, imagine 1,000 fingers just tapping your arm like this. And as you increase the intensity, the speed of those fingers tapping you go faster and faster. It may even feel like, I don't know, 2,000 fingers tapping you, but it's just a really fast sensation. It may take a few times to get used to it, but now I just don't even notice the sensation on my arm. It's so accustomed to that feeling that it doesn't bother me, but it just honestly feels like a whole bunch of little pokes. I've been using the device for 3 months, and here are my tips. Tip number 1, after 2 uses, clean the device. The device is really easy to clean. You really just once you take it off after the session is done, before you put the little plastic band back on, grab some water and just rub it on. And then you just put it down, let it dry for 5 minutes. The app will automatically tell you every 5 uses to clean the little stickies. I found that if you do it every 2 uses, the stickies last longer. So it just helps with the longevity of the device. Now it's important to wait at least 5 minutes before you put the plastic back on, otherwise the device is too wet and it's not going to stick well. Tip number 2, mess around with the timing that you use the device. I shared that I use the device for prevention, so I'm using it first thing in the morning. I discovered over trial and error, the faster I use the device when I first wake up in the morning, the better it works. Meaning if I use it, say, an hour after I've been up, the likelihood of it stopping my progression of my symptoms during the day isn't as high. I deal with daily migraine symptoms. It's a matter of, are these symptoms turning into a full-blown attack? So by using it first thing in the morning, it has a higher chance of stopping that progression, and the longer I'm up, the harder the device basically has to work, because now my body is exposed to so many things that it is filling up my cup, which could push me past the threshold to end up in a migraine attack. So mess around with the timing. Maybe you do really well in the evenings before you go to bed or midday. Figure out what works for you. Tip number 3 is mess around with the intensity. I use a different level of intensity when I'm treating a migraine attack versus prevention. I find that I can't use the same type of intensity for both. Figure out what works the best for you. I usually start at a low intensity and then work my way up to increasing it. So I may increase only by 3 to 5% intensities each time every 5 minutes until I get to that sweet spot. I figured out my sweet spot for prevention and acute treatment, but they're very different. So mess around with the intensity to figure out what works best for you. My last tip is switch the arms after each use, meaning don't use the same arm over and over again. I notice that when I do that, I get a lot of skin sensitivity, not to the point where it hurts to touch, but it just feels slightly uncomfortable. But I'm also using the device daily, and then there are some days where I'm using the device up to 3 times during a day, and on those scenarios, I'm trying really hard to prevent a migraine attack. So that means I may be entering into a really high triggering event or environment. I will just put on the device to prevent my body from going into full-blown attack mode. So just switching the arms helps with that sensitivity. Benefits of device. I think the biggest benefit of the device, in my opinion, is that it has 0 side effects. I have tried over 50 medications, and it's been 3 years since I've been on prevention treatment just due to severe side effects that I face. Nerivio has no side effects, which is really nice. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but the fact that it comes with no side effects, I think it's a really positive thing. Number 2 is that it's approved for 8 years and older, and it's safe for anyone trying to conceive or that's pregnant, which I think this is a really big thing because there's not a lot of options for young children living with migraine, nor are there options for people that are pregnant or trying to conceive. Here are the things I wish I could change. Number 1, the device is expensive. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is an expensive product. And the fact that insurance companies in the United States rarely ever cover Nerivio, it means you're paying 100% out of pocket. So it's expensive. I'm spending $200 a month on prevention treatment. Now I think it's worth it because I'm seeing the benefit of it, but it's an expensive product. And it's actually the number 1 reason I hear people say they won't try Nerivio is due to the costs and insurances not covering it. Number 2 is the longevity. I talked about how these stickies don't last very long. This is what I mean. I share that this device is getting close to the end of its life, but it still has quite a bit of uses left. However, the stickies are just starting to peel. And if I put this device on my arm and I turned it on, a intensity of 15% isn't the same as when this was a new device and I turned it on intensity of 15. A 15%, this stage is more like a 20%. So I have to increase the intensity a lot more as the device gets closer to the end of its life. If Nerivio could figure out how to make this longevity last like the stickies, I would be really happy because it's something that really bothers me. This was an issue when it was used for only acute treatment way back when. I had the same issues and the device had a lot less uses than it has today, but it just does not last as long. Now, the device still works. It just, you have to use a higher level of intensity, at least I think you do, to get the same benefit. But do I think you should use Nerivio or test it out? I think it depends. If you're looking for treatment options, I think it's a great option. However, it is expensive, so you have to consider that. I am someone that will always say try everything at least once before you say I'm not going to try something. Nerivio is a really great option along with all the other neuromodulations. Unfortunately, none of them are covered by insurance, so all of them are out of pocket. But if you're out of treatment options or just extremely medication sensitive, I do think this is a really great product for you to try. Now, I will say it took me a solid 8 months to figure out all the little tips and tricks around the device because it wasn't super successful the first time I used it, but the longer I used it every day, the more obvious the benefit was. What I've noticed is that my fatigue has improved. I'm someone my entire life have dealt with severe fatigue. I have a little bit more energy. I'm going to say like I could go run a marathon, but I have a little bit more energy throughout my day, which I think is a really big win. The second thing is that my level of intensity, my migraine attacks, have decreased by like a lot. Whenever I would enter into a migraine attack, I was out for several days, weeks, or even months. I think my longest high intensity was 3 years. And I had a hospitalization of 14 days during that period, and it didn't even touch my migraine attack. So the fact that this device has reduced my intensity is a really big thing. I would say since I started using it, I haven't had a migraine that's lasted several days to weeks. However, I can't say with guarantee it's because of Nerivio. I think Nerivio has definitely been a reason why, but I think there's also a lot of other factors on why I'm seeing such a high success. Also, like lifestyle changes I've made has also benefit, but I do think this device deserves some credit. So with that being said, like Nerivio, if it's an option for you, I say go for it. But remember, just like medications, with neuromodulation devices, it's a trial and error. Just because Nerivio has been successful for me doesn't mean you're going to have the same effect. And just because it's been successful for me doesn't mean you won't have more success with it. Everyone is different, everyone reacts differently. And if the device doesn't work for you, don't blame yourself. That's not your fault. It's just migraine is unique to everyone and everyone handles things differently. So if you have any questions on Nerivio, be sure to comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button.